Hey, what's up, guys? Coming with a new series. It's called Storytime. I'm just basically gonna talk about stuff that's happened in my life. And today I decided what else to talk about but getting suspended. I've gotten suspended a whole bunch of times, all the way from like grade 1 up until now. I'm in grade what am I in? I'm in grade 10. So that's like 9 years of getting suspended. I've gotten suspended most years. So, first time that I remember getting suspended was around grade 1. I peed outside. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea, but my friends thought I should have. That's how I got suspended most of the times, is things my friends think I should do. So I peed outside. I'm like little grade 1er, just running around, thinking the world's funny, you know? And I didn't think of it, so I just went, peed on the fence, and there was a teacher standing right behind me, so she said go to the office, and I'm all scared, and then I got there, and they said the worst thing they could say. They're like, hey, I'm calling your parents. I'm like, oh no, don't call my parents. And they're like, oh, we're going to do it. And I'm like, oh man. So they called my parents, and it was a bad day. It was an in-school suspension, so I didn't have to go home. I just had to sit in the office all day, which kind of sucked. But it's happened, whatever, you can. But then there were the other times I can't even remember half the times. I got suspended quite a bit. I got suspended in, the next time I remember is actually like grade 6. We were singing "Oh Canada" because I'm a little Canadian kid, and we're just singing along. It's like "Oh Canada," and my friend was sitting in front of me with his pants half sagged down. Then I looked to my friend. He looked back to me. He like nodded. So I'm like, "Oh yeah." So I pantsed my friend in the middle of our national anthem, and they're like, "Hey, go to the office." I'm like, "Crap." Then I get there and they're like, "Hey, what'd you do?" I'm like, "I was just being a teenager." They're like, "Oh, okay." But then they didn't think much of it. And then my teacher came down. He's like, "Hey, this young man pants someone in Canada." They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna call your parents." And I'm like, "Ah." So that's the worst thing they can do when you're a kid, is call your mom. You know? My mom really didn't care though. I did it to my friend. We've been friends since kindergarten. I go in a K to 12 school, so it's pretty small. And then they're like, "Is he fine?" I'm like, "Yeah, he really didn't care," which I don't know if he did. I never really asked him. And then my parents really didn't care. And then next time I got suspended. I got suspended this year. I got suspended for cheating on a test. First time I ever got caught. So me and a couple friends were just sitting down doing this test. And then they're like, "Hey." And then we're doing this test, and the teacher left her answer key on the table. So we're like, "Hey, let's go look at the answer key, get some answers." And then it ended up we take pictures of the test and send it to each other, and we all do it. And then, since I don't have the best marks, that was kind of obvious when I got a 85% on just this random test. So they pulled me in the office. Somebody saw us do it, and they told on us. And then they pulled me into the office. They're like, "Hey, why'd you do so good on this test?" I'm like, "Oh, I studied for the first time this year." They're like, "Hey, this is pretty cool. But your answers are the exact same as the answer key." I'm like, "Yeah, they're right." And they're like, "It's not like that. You wrote them in the same order and everything." I'm like, "Oh, you caught me. I cheated." Because at that point, what are you going to say? Like, so I admitted it. I said I cheated. They're like, "So, who else did it with you?" I'm like, "No, nobody." Which, there was a couple other people. Anyways, They're like, well, someone told on you. And I'm like, who told on me? And they're like, oh, we can't tell you because then you won't talk to him anymore. And only one other person saw me cheat, or saw us doing it, so I know who it was anyways. And they're like, hey, well, did anyone else cheat? I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, well, they said some other people were involved. I'm like, oh yeah, a couple people saw me doing it. Like, saw me taking the pictures. And they're like, okay, who is it? And I told them their name. They're like, okay. And then they went and talked to that kid. They're like, did you cheat? He's like, no. I was like, prove it. I'm like, okay. He's like, okay. And then they never got caught. So that was an experience. So I've learned when I cheat off a test, don't write the exact same way that the other test had on it, because that's not good news. But I've gotten in a lot of trouble a lot of other times. Those are the only times I remember getting suspended. But I've gotten in a lot of trouble. You know, just jumping up and breaking a roof tile, and I'm pretty chill with all the teachers. So when I do something, I admit to it, you know? Like, if I do it, I won't tell them. But then as soon as they bring it up, I'm like, yeah, I did that. So, breaking roof tiles, just bringing a new one to school, because they're pretty expensive. So I just steal them out of our garage, because we have a couple. And they're like, okay. So they really don't care. And then, like, skipping classes and just stuff like that. Like, I had an old gym teacher, and he never liked me. He only liked you if you were a total jock. And I mean, I'm good at sports. When I do something, I laugh. Instead of being like, oh crap. I'm like, like if I go and I jump up and I like jump into a wall and like break something, I'm like, that sucks. He's like, hey, that's not appropriate. I'm like, well, what else do you want me to say? And then he's like, oh, not that. So then he's probably the meanest person ever. He kicked me out a rec. It was an option we were taking. He kicked recreational something or other. He kicked me out of that because I skipped gym to do math homework. So my math teacher knew I was doing math homework. She told me, you're missing gym to do math homework. And then he's like, hey, you're kicked out of rec because you had to do your math. So, for skipping gym, it had nothing to do with rec. He was just the same teacher. That was pretty bad. And then we were on a cross-country skiing trip, and my friend fell down in front of me. So then I hit him and fell down, and he said we were fooling around and kicked us out of that class. And he was quite a character. But he retired last year, so that's pretty good news. That means that we got a new gym teacher who he's nice. He's a nice guy. Just doesn't think quite right. You know, like I played volleyball and I missed one practice because I totally forgot we had practice that night. And he's like, you're kicked off the team for skipping practice. I'm like, how long has that been a rule? He's like, it's always been a rule. I'm like, have you ever told me of this rule? He's like, nope. I'm like, why not? He's like, oh, you should have just known it was a rule. I'm like, that's kind of stupid. So that happened, and can't remember any other times I got suspended, but I'm sure I have got suspended a bit. Just by fooling around and ending up doing something stupid. Oh no, I got suspended we were in foods class, and our other friends were building a bench for their option. So we went and talked to the foods teacher. We're like, can we go down to the store to help these people buy some stuff because they needed bolts and they knew nothing about bolts. So we went down, bought them for them, and then apparently she misunderstood us, aka she really doesn't like us. So then she's like, these people ditched out of class. And then they called their parents, and we rode our skateboards, right? So and my friend fell on the road and like ate it. And then we got back and my parents are like, hey, the school called, said you're missing. And we go to a school in the country, so you can't go anywhere. It's in the middle of nowhere. So the only things that are in this whole town is 5 houses and a co-op. Anyways, we're like halfway back. They're like, my mom calls. They're like, the school says they don't know where you are. I'm like, oh, I'm pooping. She's like, okay, go tell them you're pooping. And then I ended up saying that, and that just got me in more trouble. But then they said, like, my friend, the one I went with, he was failing foods class, however you do that. But I was passing with like a 92 or something, so I wasn't in any bad situations. But he had like a 42 in foods. He was my partner. But he got back, so we had a 1 week in school suspension, and all he had to do was start passing foods, and I had to start passing psychology because I got put into psychology. But yeah, that happened, and ended up I started passing psychology. That's pretty much all the trouble I've been in. There's other little things, don't really matter though. But I'll leave that up, this episode of Storytime here, and I'll come back to you next time. Next time I think of a good story to tell you of the short life I've lived so far. Alright, well, I'll see you guys next time.